The Yellowstone Supervolcano has been dormant for 640,000 years, but there is evidence that it will erupt again, and when it does, we need to be prepared. Although the chances of surviving the initial blast are slim, if you do survive, there's going to be a lot of work to do afterwards. So here are some things you need to know about what comes next after a Yellowstone eruption. We've all seen the videos with the mushroom cloud reaching up to 30 miles into the atmosphere and covering an area the size of Montana in ash, but those who survive the initial blast won't have much time to take in the aftermath before they need to start taking action. In the immediate aftermath of the eruption, you need to put the safety of yourself and your family first. It's going to get dark as the ash cloud blocks out the sun. Temperatures could drop below zero within minutes and the air could become difficult to breathe. You will want to find shelter immediately. Basements or underground structures offer the most protection against falling ash and debris. If you don't have access to a basement, then seek shelter in an interior room without windows on the lowest level of your home. If you live far enough away from the epicenter of the blast, you may only need to worry about the pyroclastic flows. These are extremely hot mixtures of gas and solid matter that flow down the slopes of the volcano at high speeds. They reach temperatures of over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit and can travel up to 100 miles per hour. If you live near the base of the volcano and see one of these coming, then run uphill as fast as you can. If you are caught in one of these flows, there is little chance of survival. As night sets in, it's going to get very cold as the ash cloud blocks out the sun. The good news is that this is only going to last for about 2 days. Then the cloud will begin to dissipate and reveal a sky filled with ash. The bad news is that this ash is going to be falling back down to Earth in a thick layer that reaches up to 8 inches deep. This is going to make breathing difficult and water undrinkable. You should cover your mouth and nose with a cloth while outside. And when you come inside, make sure to close all of your windows and doors to keep the ash out. Make sure you also cover up any food and water that you have stored to prevent contamination. Wear gloves while cleaning up the ash, since it will easily get into your skin and cause severe irritation. And definitely do not eat any food that has been exposed to the ash. Another dangerous consequence of the ash cloud blocking out the sun is that the temperature on Earth will rise. Without the sun's rays being able to pass through the cloud, the heat from the lower atmosphere will be trapped and temperatures will rise by several degrees. This could lead to widespread crop failure and food shortages, especially if the ash also contaminates the soil and water supply. And while all this is going on, there's also going to be earthquakes. The Yellowstone Supervolcano is the largest active earthquake generator in North America. When it erupts, there will be thousands of earthquakes that shake the surrounding states. Most of these quakes will be minor, but there's always a chance that a major quake will trigger a landslide or cause a dam to break. If you can, stay inside and away from windows during these earthquakes. In the weeks following the eruption, the full force of its power will become apparent. Pyroclastic flows and mudslides caused by melting snow and ice will continue to ravage the landscape. Some survivors may be forced to abandon their homes and flee to higher ground. Those who stay behind will face a long and difficult task of rebuilding their lives. If you have crops on your land, then you're just going to have to abandon them. Ash will have blanketed the fields and made them temporarily unusable for planting, and even if you were able to clear the ash, the magma generated by the eruption will have contaminated the soil and made it poisonous to plants and animals. Unfortunately, this means that you will not be able to grow food or raise livestock for several years. Even fish and game will be off limits due to contamination. You cannot hunt deer that are eating poisonous plants or drink water that has been tainted by volcanic debris. After the waters receded and the shaking stopped, the survivors would need to venture out into the devastated countryside to search for food and supplies. In the short term, the best option is going to be foraging for wild edibles. Nature has already begun to heal itself, and edible plants will be growing even in the midst of the destruction. Be careful though, as poisonous plants can also grow in this environment. You will want to be absolutely sure of what you are harvesting before you consume it. Fishing will also be a great source of nutrition, but make sure to clean the fish thoroughly before cooking, as the bones and organs may contain harmful levels of contaminants. You should also try to contact other survivors in the area to form a community. You will need to work together to rebuild and sustain yourselves in the aftermath of the disaster. Bartering and trading will become the norm as people try to obtain the resources they need to survive. Having a community will make this process easier, but be cautious. Not everyone will have good intentions. There will be those who seek to take advantage of others in times of weakness. Try to stick with people you know and trust and be wary of strangers. It will take years for the soil and water to be clean enough for growing crops again. While the ash will eventually break down and the water will eventually run clear, the heavy metals and toxic chemicals left behind by the lava will remain in the soil for many years. Crops grown in this soil will be poisonous, and livestock raised on these pastures will also be unsafe to consume. You may be able to get around this problem by planting trees to absorb the toxins in the soil, but it will be many years before you can safely harvest these trees and use them for lumber or fuel. During these early years, the people who survive the Yellowstone eruption will live a life much like our ancestors did when they first settled in the New World. Life will be hard and dangerous, and the threat of starvation will loom over everyone. Those who do not adapt to these conditions will perish, but those who do will learn to live in harmony with nature and become true survivors. A devastating volcanic eruption can bring down entire economies. The financial impact of such an event can be catastrophic, affecting not only the immediate area, but also the entire country and even the world. In the immediate aftermath of the eruption, the focus is understandably on saving lives and providing aid to those affected by the disaster. But as the dust settles, the economic impacts become clearer. The agricultural industry will likely be one of the first sectors to feel the effects. Ash and other debris from the eruption will contaminate soil and water supplies, rendering them unfit for farming and ranching. Crops will fail, livestock will perish, and food prices will skyrocket. The economic impact of a Yellowstone eruption would not be limited to the agricultural sector. The eruption would likely cause widespread power outages, disrupt transportation networks, and damage critical infrastructure. Businesses would be forced to shut down, leading to job losses and decreased productivity. The cost of repairing damaged infrastructure and restoring essential services would be staggering. Furthermore, the eruption would likely have significant impacts on the tourism and hospitality industries. The affected areas would become less attractive destinations for tourists, resulting in lost revenue and job losses in these sectors. The economic impacts of a Yellowstone eruption would extend beyond the immediate area and affect the entire country and even the global economy. The disruption of essential industries such as agriculture and energy production would have ripple effects throughout the economy. Global markets would likely react negatively to the news of the eruption, leading to decreased investment and economic uncertainty. The eruption of Mount St. Helens in 1980 provides a glimpse into the potential economic impacts of a more significant eruption. The eruption of Mount St. Helens, which was much smaller than the potential eruption of Yellowstone, had significant economic impacts on the region. The eruption caused an estimated $1 billion in damages, equivalent to approximately $2.7 billion in today's currency. Hundreds of businesses were destroyed, and thousands of people were forced to leave the area, leading to a sharp decline in the local economy. However, the economy of the region has since recovered, and the area has become a popular tourist destination. In conclusion, the eruption of Yellowstone would be a devastating event with far-reaching consequences. The loss of life and destruction of property would be catastrophic, and the economic impacts would be felt for years. The agricultural and energy industries would be particularly hard hit, leading to widespread food shortages and energy price increases. The economic impacts would extend beyond the immediate area, affecting the entire country and even the world. The eruption would likely cause a global economic downturn, and financial markets would react negatively to the news of the disaster. Now, what about the rest of the world? How would the eruption of Yellowstone affect the rest of the world? The eruption of Yellowstone would have profound implications for the rest of the world, far beyond the immediate vicinity. The effects would be felt economically, environmentally, and even politically. One of the most significant impacts would be on the global climate. The eruption would inject massive amounts of ash and sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere, blocking sunlight and cooling the planet. Global temperatures could fall by several degrees, leading to widespread crop failures and food shortages. This could trigger a global famine and mass migrations as people flee affected regions in search of food and resources. The eruption would also have significant economic impacts on a global scale. The agricultural sector would be devastated, leading to higher food prices and disruptions in the global supply chain. Energy prices would also increase as the demand for oil and natural gas rises to compensate for the lack of renewable energy sources. The economic uncertainty and instability caused by the eruption could lead to a global recession or even a depression. The environmental impacts of the eruption would be equally severe. The ash and debris from the eruption would spread over vast areas, contaminating soil and water supplies and killing wildlife. The air quality would be hazardous, leading to respiratory problems and other health issues. The ecological damage caused by the eruption would have long-lasting consequences for the environment and could take decades or even centuries to recover. The political ramifications of the eruption would be equally profound. The affected countries would likely experience a surge in nationalism and isolationism as governments prioritize the needs of their own citizens. International cooperation would be strained as countries compete for resources and seek to protect their own interests. The eruption could also lead to the rise of authoritarianism and militarism as people become desperate for security and stability. In conclusion, the eruption of Yellowstone would be a catastrophic event with far-reaching consequences for the entire world. The global climate, economy, and environment would be severely impacted and international relations would be strained. The eruption would pose unprecedented challenges for humanity and would require global cooperation and solidarity to overcome. Thanks for watching. When it comes to surviving a Yellowstone eruption, it's important to be prepared for the worst-case scenario. Have a plan in place for evacuating your home and a bug-out bag packed with supplies. Learn first aid and survival skills, and stock up on food and water that will last for at least 3 weeks. Stay informed about potential volcanic activity and follow the guidance of local authorities. Remember, knowledge is power, and being prepared can make all the difference in surviving a natural disaster. Stay safe and be vigilant.